Nick, are you there?
He's
Yeah,
here.
I'm here.
Keep talking.
Okay, hi guys.
No, that's all I needed. That's all I needed. Everyone's good audio wise except Nam. You could raise your volume if possible. Don't worry. Yeah, you're still low.
Stone, you're not playing any Warzone, right?
No. Not currently playing anything. So.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for stopping by and listening. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, if we get this on Podbean this week, all of those. Thank you so much for listening. We are starting an NBA talk. We don't really have a podcast like name yet, but just know we are talking about NBA. So guys, be thinking of names. If anyone has suggestions, let us know. But I'm Jay Robles, or you just call me John, and I got few. It's so weird that I just named myself John. I'm so used to like Twitch Jay Robles. It's really weird. But we got Jay Stone 812. We just call him Stone. We got Nam here, Nick, Jerome. You guys can, however you want to be named, just let the people know. But we all like basketball. We've been wanting to do an NBA talk for a while now. And so there's two things I think that has like that as friends that this is all we talk about is basketball and video games. So that's kind of how we all know each other and yeah, yada yada yada. But Stone, why don't you tell people about yourself? Who's your favorite team? Anything you want to say, go for it.
I do. Yeah, when you said your first name out, I cringed a little bit.
It was weird, man. I didn't like it.
Yeah, it's very odd. Yeah, I guess if we're gonna do favorite teams, I've been a Bulls fan since forever, and then Oklahoma City got a team, so obviously the Bulls had to move down to the number 2 spot, and so clearly a Thunder fan from Oklahoma, and honestly, that's probably how it's gonna be, through thick and thin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it is what it is, Can't help it. We had a good run.
All right, that's Stone, everybody. How about let's go Nam. What up, Nam?
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I am the underboss, Mr. KN Tran, better known as Nam. FYI, you can catch me on a movie podcast called When Jeremy Met Nam.
True.
Anyway, kind of like everyone else here, man, I grew up on like early 90s and 90s basketball, and I kind of did a lot of research going back to the 80s, and a huge advocate when it came to like the NBA live games back in the day. Back then though, honestly, I never really had a favorite team. I followed players more, and I think this is, as anyone that could contest even now, this is more of a players league than a team league, in my opinion. So I always followed like Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson. So I was a Charlotte Hornets fan growing up, Miami Heat fan growing up. Next, eventually, of course, Oklahoma. Finally got a team, so obviously now currently an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. So.
All right, that's Nam, everyone. Let's go ahead and go. We'll go to Jerome.
Hey, Jerome, also known as Sandrock05 on anything pretty much gaming wise. I like NBA, basketball. I had a goal in my yard growing up. We would do, 2-on-2s and just shoot around in the driveway. As far as favorite teams, I love the old school Houston Rockets with Rudy Tomjanovich as the coach.
Ooh, yeah.
Hakeem, Horry, Cassell, all those guys. I love that team. I hated the new Rockets until they got rid of that toxic guy we'll talk about later. But currently, I do like Golden State. I like the way they play, and I like several of the players on the team. So that's kind of as far as my team picks. OKC, but I like the Warriors, and I like my old school Rockets. Never underestimate the heart of a champion.
There you go. I appreciate the fact you call it a goal. Thank you very much, Jerome.
Yes.
People. We'll talk about that in one podcast. All right, thanks, Jerome. Last but not least, we got Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, it's Nick, aka Legit Dad Bod. I started off as a Rockets fan like Jerome back in the old school days with Tom Janovich, Kim Olajuwon, Drexler, Sam Cassell, Robert Ory. Um, Big, huge fan of them. And then when I was 8, we moved over to San Antonio, and I had liked the Spurs before, even though they were, which is weird, being a Rockets fan and a Spurs fan. But I was young and I liked David Robinson, so we moved over to San Antonio. I kind of just went into the Spurs group. And have been a Spurs fan ever since. Been a great run the last 22 consecutive playoff appearances. This last year, not so much. But we know that we're on a rebuild, and I think that we've got some good guards. We just need a better consistent big man. LA just does not complement the team right now, and I think that we need to move on. And hopefully, maybe we might talk about that later. And
Yeah.
yeah,
All right. That's I'm kind of with Nick, except I've always been a Spurs fan. But I also, like Stone, enjoyed the Bulls during that whole Jordan run, and I think that was kind of what Nam was saying. Even back then, I think like I liked players more. Now, like I'm a huge diehard Spurs fan, but back then, like Jordan was Jordan, and it's just like that's just who I like to watch because he was so good. He's the best. He's the goat.
Oh,
But yeah.
he already said
Oh,
it.
oh, I already
He
said
already
it.
said it.
I already said it. That's right.
I
That's
think
right.
that's
Fight me.
a group like
I,
consensus.
I don't want to have to be the Shannon of the group on the
I was
first
gonna
episode.
say. Wait, I was gonna say Jerome doesn't quite agree. Oh man. So that's kind of all our backgrounds. Like I said, we're all huge NBA fans. We're all friends. We talk about this on the daily, usually in text messages. So
Yeah, if you can see
um,
those group texts.
yeah, they're great. They're great. So hopefully we can bring some of that out into podcast or live show form here for you. So this first episode, we're actually just going to talk. I kind of wanted you to hear everyone's teams, who they are, and we just have one topic today. Just going to kind of keep it simple. We'll see how this goes, and then we'll see what works and what doesn't work for other shows. But the topic we're going to talk about this evening is the big Harden trade that happened last week. So for everyone that already probably knows, if you're an NBA fan, James Harden got traded to the Nets. And I actually think this is a great topic because as the guys were talking, you heard a few OKC fans in there. You got Stone, Jerome, Nam. And so I'm really curious to hear your feedback because you had Harden when he was young. You had Harden and KD when they were young. They were a core. I forgot until recently that Jeff Green also played for the Thunder with them, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot about him. I mean, he wasn't like one of the big three, but he played with them. So we're gonna kind of just talk about that trade, thoughts, like how far we think the Nets are gonna go, how those three are gonna work: Kyrie, James Harden, KD, the rest of the team. So who wants to start out here? Let's get some thoughts out there.
I mean, is like my opinion as far as like where I think they're gonna go. I think my opinion kind of took a hit acquiring James Harden, but I mean, as far as my picks, like I've already picked Brooklyn to win, and it has more to do with
Oh,
Kevin than anything else. But
is it more that it's the East Coast, or is it because it's Katie?
it's because it's KD. Like so,
Okay.
I made this declaration while at Nom's, so Nom can vouch for this 100%. I've already stated that I want Tom Brady to win another ring, and I want Kevin Durant to win a ring with the Nets. So, for me, before the season started, I felt pretty good about the KD Kyrie combination. I
mhm.
figured it's Kyrie, so you're probably going to get drama. It is what it is. And then I watched the first couple games with them, and they looked good. Obviously, it's not seamless, but I thought they looked good. And now you have this drama with Kyrie, and now you have Harden on top of it, and so now my optimism is just not very high right now. I'm still picking them. I'm hoping they can get it together, but I'm
Like,
just not.
are you picking them as like number one in the Eastern, or
Yeah,
where are you placing them?
I mean, okay. So if they can play, um, if they can play the way they know how to, they don't let drama build up. Harden becomes an actual team player. I think I firmly believe they could be number one in the East without any question. But that's the thing. Can that happen? And I honestly don't think so.
So
I
that's
truly
interesting. So
don't.
you thought they were better before the Harden trade. That's what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
even with
Interesting.
Kyrie's drama, they were still a better team
Mhm.
before Harden. Like, it is
Okay.
what it is. I don't think the Harden trade helped them because, we've seen how the Rockets have gone with Harden, and Harden's been given everything he's asked for, and we've seen how that goes. So I don't know. Like I said, it's up to Harden how he decides he wants to play with this team, and if he sticks to what he's been doing, this team will go nowhere. Not with him. So I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens.
Great points.
So I'll go in on this one.
I,
I mean, Stone and I do agree on this aspect. Whether Brooklyn was probably better before the trade, at least in my opinion, I agree. I'm not really concerned about how Harden's going to play with the Nets because I know he can. I'm more concerned. I guess I would be more concerned with how Kyrie was when he comes back, if he comes back. Just because I don't know if he's going to be willing to play third fiddle to those two or vice versa. But even so, I mean, I challenge the trade itself because I don't know quite if it was exactly the best trade for New Jersey. I mean, you get an all-star in Harden, but you basically gut out your entire bench. The only big man that they really have right now is DeAndre Jordan, which right now he's on the downslope on his career. And like if you ask me who their bench players are, there's maybe what Joe Harris and Shamit, which I mean
mhm. Landry. Yeah.
those two guys don't give me like the fear of someone who can basically take over that secondary bench. So I don't think they'll have the bench that's going to win them a championship, at least not right now. And I don't think they got the big to compete with Anthony Davis or anybody else in the West. So they may make it. They may make it there, but I mean, I still think it's Boston's and Milwaukee's conference to lose right now.
All right.
So, kind of following up what Nam said. So, in a sense, the Nets pretty much did what the Warriors did when they went after KD. They gutted a lot of their depth to get that superstar. But here's the difference between when the Warriors did it and when the Nets did it. See, the Warriors were already a solid team. They had good chemistry. They didn't have players that may have had toxic past with other franchises. So you've got KD, you've got Kyrie. Kyrie's already kind of, his attitude as far as when he was with LeBron was a little sus. In Boston, it was definitely sus. A lot of players didn't like him. And then you bring in James Harden, who has these bad habits. You have DeMarcus Cousins saying, showing up to practice late, the work ethics, and bad habits don't die easy. I mean, so as far as like Harden, what he brings to the team, I don't think there's anything positive other than the name James Harden. You got a superstar in name, but even with that, I don't fear him being added because he's never been the guy to really take his team to the championships. Every time he's gotten somewhere, he's always choked with him at the helm. So I think they were definitely better prior to the trade, and both teams are gonna the Nets are gonna face the same thing the Warriors ended up meeting in the end, is where when you gut your bench, you gut your depth. The years after you have those powerhouses, and when those big names leave, you're an immediate rebuild and you're back to square one, and you still got good talent, but you're so devastated because you've lost so much talent around you that it takes a long time to build it back up to get back to where you were, as
That
we're seeing the Warriors right now.
that's a good point, man.
I
That's
just okay. I
that's
just have one question, Jerome, though, because I know how much you love James Harden. Um, okay, we obviously know how James Harden is now, but do you think if James Harden from the the Oklahoma City team, right? Let's say that mentality James Harden went to the Nets. Is it a better team, or do you still think it's the same?
Better.
Okay,
That's the sixth man of the year, or six man, James Harden, before, the big deal, the big head, the ego, before he was taking 20 free throw shots a night, you know.
right. Okay, yeah, I was just curious because I know how much you love the guy.
No, no, I'll give him credit. If he would immediately left OKC and went to the Nets and they had those players, I think they're easily the best team in the NBA right now. But now that he's been kind of spoiled at Houston and he's developed this ego and these bad habits, he's a completely different guy now. He's changed.
Yeah, he got that superstar status. It changes the man, you know?
Yeah, it seems to be a like reoccurring theme with athletes, not just in the NBA but in general. It's
Well,
like
that's more of a got so much money they don't know what to do
right,
with
it's
some
we
days.
got our we're getting paid, so it doesn't matter now.
Yeah.
You, I would say, Houston actually made out with this deal. I think they've got a great future ahead of them. They've got young players in Christian Wood. I mean, John Wall's not even in right now. Eric Gordon's still out. They're gonna have Oladipo coming in. They're gonna have 4 first-round picks. I think they, made a great deal on this trade. And James Harden going over there to the Nets, you know, his first game in, he got a triple double. So that's going to be the Harden we're going to see going forward. I think we're going to see him doing better there than he did in Houston, mainly because when someone's not motivated, they're not going to play. And he did disrespect the players in the Rockets organization. He had given up on them already. I like what John Wall said. It's only been 9 games in. There's a whole season ahead. But yeah, he was already checked out. I think now he's gotten refocused. I'm not a Harden fan one bit, but his first game in, he gets a triple double, 30 points. Now he did struggle from the three. I can't remember. I think he only was like 3 and 9 or 3 and something. It was something crazy. Um, his first game in, but Durant, he's gonna do good. Not and me, I'm not a Durant lover, but he's in the Eastern Conference. They're definitely gonna make the playoffs. I can see them going to the conference finals and yeah, going up against the Bucks hopefully because
So,
I'm
so okay, so here was his stat line for his first game. I think I'm pretty sure it was Orlando, but he was 8 of 18 and 3 for 10 from three, and
yeah.
he was 13 of 15 from the free throw line.
Hmm.
I mean, that was. I mean,
Yeah, but
that
how
just
many
sounds
look
like
at his
James
steals?
Harden.
How many steals did he have that game? He actually played defense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually. That's
he had
a
four. He had
rare
so
sighting.
he had 14 assists and 12 rebounds, which I mean
Yes.
looks like he put effort in. But
So,
guess who wasn't playing that day?
Well, yeah, we know Kyrie's out,
Right. So the only two people getting
but he was that guy at
crazy
Hart
minutes and
in
ball touches
Houston.
was Kevin Durant and James Harden.
Okay, but you accused him of not being a team player. I'm saying I think he's getting motivation to actually play, and that's why you could see him distributing the ball more. He didn't have trust in his teammates. He was just. I'm not sticking up for Harden one bit, but I could see him performing a lot better in Brooklyn than in Houston this year.
see, I kind of see the opposite. I think the James Harden we're right now looking at is a guy who just went to a new team, and so he's on his best behavior. He's got his church clothes on, he's got his tie, his shirt's tucked in,
Right.
and so yeah, he's going out there giving 100%. But then he's going to get to a point in the season where he settles in and becomes comfortable, and that's when we're going to start seeing the Houston Rockets James Harden come out,
But
and
what
he's
do you
going to be
think's gonna spark that? What do you think's gonna happen where he
Kyrie comes
finally?
back.
he doesn't get the ball as much. His
See,
numbers
I
go
don't
Right.
think it's
down,
gonna happen
and he's
right
going
when
to
Kyrie
pout.
comes back. Yeah, I think it's gonna be when they have the first like dramatic moment that Harden, Kyrie didn't pass it to him. He was open and said he passed it to Durant, and then they're gonna end up imploding as a team between them two. I think Durant's gonna be the glue that can hold them together, because at least Brooklyn has that. Other than the Rockets didn't have anyone else to really get Harden under control, or take him into the back room or something and say, hey, this is how it needs to be. I think Durant's actually going to play that role for Harden.
I mean, I hope he does, but being the glue like for KD, I
Yeah,
haven't seen
that's
that yet. I
Yeah,
haven't
I
seen
agree with
that
that. You
with
know me. I
the
agree with that
I was
100%.
gonna say
I haven't seen that
100%.
with the Thunder or the
But
Warriors. The
just
Warriors already had their leaders there. He didn't really. He
yeah,
just had to shoot the ball,
I was
score.
gonna.
right. And see, that's the
And
thing too with the Golden State. He was coming into the system. This
Hmm.
system's built around KD, and
Yep.
and I think KD had very much a say in how that trade was going. That hey, I want Harden here. I don't know why. Maybe because he already has a trust with Harden. But I mean, he has somewhat of say what was going on with that they wanted him.
yeah, but KD could also have his rose-colored goggles on and thinking of the old James Harden from OKC, where he was coming off the
True.
bench, not Houston Rockets MVP, huge deal James Harden, where he's the man. I mean, so
Yeah.
I just don't see KD really holding that glue well. I mean, he's kind of the reason why the departure from Golden State went so bad because you know his attitude towards the end.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's
And
that's tough because like he got injured in the playoffs. Like that's a hard situation, I think, to where he could have sat their owner. What's his late? I forget his name. But didn't he have say like no, put him in or something like that? And then he got injured.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's I mean, that's the tough call to still have a great attitude after that, having that type of injury.
and I mean, correct me if you can correct me if you want, Num. But I think we're kind of on the same page as far as like Kevin Durant and the leader aspect. I don't think he's going or playing for Brooklyn wanting to be a leader for that team, and because I don't, that was definitely not his mentality in Oklahoma
well,
City.
who else is going to
It's
be the leader
definitely
there?
not the mentality in Golden State. I don't know, but I don't
Steve
think
Nash.
that I don't think that Kevin Durant
Steve
wants to
Nash.
be a leader for any team. I think he wants to be the role player. I think he wants to be the guy that um, that takes the tough shot when it's needed, but he
Yep.
doesn't want to have to be the guy that puts the team in check if shit's getting
Well,
out of
do you
control,
think
or you
that's
know what
going
I
to
mean.
be their? Do
He
you think that's going to be their downfall, though?
No,
I
because
mean,
Kevin's not a leader. He's an assassin.
so that's what
Like,
I'm
like
saying though. Is other than Steve Nash being the head coach, who's going to be the player that takes, you know, the rookie under his wing, or so to say, or knows how to get the team in order and take care, be the quarterback on the court. I mean, you can't trust Kyrie. I mean, with that.
I guess hopefully this is where Nash, in his experience as being a leader,
being a
maybe
player's
he's got
coach.
maybe he's got
Right.
charisma we just haven't seen because he's still a relatively new coach. Maybe Nash has some good pull. He's got some good speeches and he's got some clout in the locker room. We don't know yet. We haven't really seen
At
what he
some
can
point,
do.
though, yeah, I know Steve Nash is Steve Nash, but at some point, it comes down to the guys on the floor,
Players. Right.
Yep,
and I think it needs to be KD, the one. He's the best player.
I agree with that.
He needs to be the leader. Like if
But
Harden
he's
or
never been
Kyrie
that
gets out
guy
of hand,
though.
no, I know that, but I'm just saying, if they want to succeed, he's gonna have to be that guy, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Because in a
Yeah.
playoff run, man, when they're going up against the Bucks and you got Giannis over there doing his thing, and
Hmm.
they don't know, they have no leadership on the court. They start getting mad at someone, fingers getting pointed here, and that's the thing about a leader. A leader can take the blame, and if no one's going to be taking the blame, they're just going to be pointing fingers at one another.
Yeah.
That's
well,
And
exactly
those
what I
certain,
see is going to happen too.
yeah. There's one
It's
thing
going
we
to be
know
a
for
lot
sure,
of
though,
Yeah.
back
at
and forth.
least based on what we've seen, though, KD's not going to be one to take the blame. Like if he puts up 30 points, right, and it's a loss, he's not going to sit there and be like, you know what, that was on me. I could have done more for the team. It's not going to fall on him. You know, I've never seen him take the responsibility for anything. And it's not to say that like every bad situation is his fault. Obviously there's only so much you can do. But when you're talking about the leader role, I don't see him being that guy. If he drops a double double or whatever, has an incredible night, and they come out with an L, I don't see him being the guy that's like, you know what, that was on me. I could have done more.
And we
I,
know
I don't see
Kyrie's
that
not
happening.
going to do it. We saw him in Boston. He's definitely not going to take. So it's and you know who is going to fall on Harden who's going to have to take the blame because he's the last guy in, and so it's going to fall on him, and he's going to point fingers right back.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this season, if it goes south, depending on what happens drama wise, I feel like Harden is the scapegoat anyway.
And are
Because
they
I
just okay? Sorry, my bad.
no, you're fine. I was just saying, I don't know of anyone that saw the Harden trade and thought, oh, this was the best thing for the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah.
So I feel like if it goes south, then now especially, I think I think Harden might be the scapegoat.
I mean, back when, because we've heard rumblings for a while that Harden wanted to go to Brooklyn,
Right.
play with KD, and at the time it was like, man, that would be scary, but it's like, what are they giving up for that? And I think they lost. I think they lost a lot. One in Karis LeVert, because that dude was balling. That dude is so good. Even coming off, even if he had to come off the bench, like that dude is so good. They lost some size. Like I liked Jared Allen as well. I feel like Jared Allen's better than
Yes, that hurt
Drummond.
them.
And if okay, so what happens if Drummond gets hurt? Like, and I don't know. I'm curious what the system's going to be because Drummond hasn't been playing well. They have Jeff Green there. He's not as big, he's not as tall, but are they going to try running small ball here? Like, how do you see them running their offense? Or are they just going to give it to Durant and Kyrie, Harden? Because by themselves, they had like 74 points the other night. Just them two, just KD and Harden.
I think we're
Right.
going to see Kyrie as more of a facilitator.
Do you mean Jordan? John, you keep saying Drummond.
Oh, not Drummond. Yeah, Jordan. Sorry, DeAndre
Okay.
Jordan. Thank you.
Didn't want to fact check you there, but I was like,
No,
wait a
thank
sec,
you.
Did I miss something?
No, sorry. I meant Jordan.
Does Nick get to be our stat guy now?
Yeah, you can be that guy. Thank you, Nick.
I completely agree with you, Robles, though, because I mean, losing Levert and losing Jarek Allen are two young pieces to the puzzle to this team, and they lose the size in the middle. I just don't see it. Whether or not, I don't like I said before, I don't see Harden being as much of a problem. I really see Kyrie being the issue in this whole equation. And then honestly, if it were me, I would trade Kyrie because you're not quite sure where he's at. I think you're not quite sure where his head's at. You know he's got the skill to be able to fit in with whatever system or however they want to play. But I just don't see. I think he's more focused on being more. I guess you would say more of a cultural influence to kind of like a Colin Kaepernick currently. Maybe not to that degree, but
Right.
Yeah, I think he wants to be more of that and utilize his current state for that other than basketball. Because, I mean, even at the very beginning of the season, I wasn't quite sure I felt the chemistry between KD and Kyrie because it was either one or the other who had like a good game. If you kind of look at the stat lines from their previous games, so you didn't even just kind of watch the games.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if Harden right now is a guy that is just is kind of like the point guard, which kind of like is what he did in Houston at the very beginning before Chris Paul came. If he's that style of player, I can see them going. I can see the Nets being really good. I just don't think they have the depth to last until they get something.
Yeah, the depth is what's going to come a long way. And then in the playoffs, we all know you can have the best team, but sometimes you get that one bad matchup. If they match up with some big men, it's going to be a problem.
Oh, you mean like LeBron cramping up during the Spurs playoff series?
Oh
man.
gosh.
Oh no.
But this is one thing I did want to say about their depth is Spencer. What's his name? Dwindle.
Oh,
Dinwiddie.
Dinwiddie.
Yeah, he's still
Dinwiddie.
there. I mean,
He's
he's
out for
still
the
there.
season.
Yeah, that's true. And then what I think, but I mean, they have Shamet or however you say his name. But
Shamet
where
from
I
the
really
Clippers.
think they lost the value was Allen, because Jordan. I mean, he's a good center. I mean, I think he is. I mean, he's big. That's why he's good. But Allen, man, he was on the up, and now that tall depth goes. I'm looking at their team, and I mean Tyler Johnson. They do have him.
Who?
Tyler Johnson.
Sorry, just kidding. I'm just kidding, Tyler Johnson.
The Guardians of the Galaxy meme. Who?
But and then Jeff Green is small forward, but I mean he's not he's
He's starting
not
power forward,
big.
I think, right?
He's well, yeah. I mean he's sitting at 6'8". I mean he's not gonna be like the you know he's definitely a role player. He's not gonna be like the oh Durant's hurt. He's gonna be our full time answer here. They're gonna be hurting badly if any of those three go out. I mean where they're just it's almost like they're done. I think at that point if one of those three go out.
No, I agree. Because I mean, if the Lakers make it, the question is who's going to guard Anthony Davis, And I just don't see anyone on that Nets team that could
He's
even
gonna have a
remotely
field day
close.
going against them.
Now, could they trade Kyrie? I mean, could that be an answer where they trade Kyrie for something and then get maybe a big man and maybe get two good solid bench players, or and maybe like get another a big man and either backcourt guy or something along those lines to kind of just make where they have a little bit more depth, or do they keep Kyrie?
No, I
If you
agree
get
with
if you
you. I
get rid
think
of
I think you
Kyrie,
should let go of Kyrie, but the question is what value can you get with his current
Right,
status?
not much.
I was listening to a pod the other day about like trade suggestions, like GMs, kind of what they're feeling, and from what I was hearing on a pod was these guys. There's some GMs out there that are still like, would you take Kyrie? And they're like, yes. So there's still those
Oh,
people, but his draft, it's not. I would say his stock right now is
okay.
definitely
Yeah,
dwindling. Like it's for every game he doesn't play, it's like, well, what's wrong with this guy? Because like what Nam was saying earlier, when he was watching them play, like KD and Kyrie this season. When I was watching Kyrie play, that dude is so skillful, and like he was doing some stuff. I was like, man, like he's got the handle. No one can stop this guy when he's on. And
Yeah.
I wish his mind was all on basketball right now, and to where those three can just forget. Harden needs to stop going to all those clubs y'all know about, and then whatever's like if they can all just think about basketball right now, they would be scary. But those are the questions like we're gonna have
so
to wait the
so
season
here's
and
the
see.
piece you go after. You go after Jimmy buckets for the Kyrie trade, and that solves the problem with the leader in the locker room because Jimmy's gonna reel everybody in, or you're gonna just get cussed
Wait,
out.
Ah
if
man,
they made that trade,
if
that'd be
they
stupid for the.
the worst trade ever.
For the Heat, yes, but for the Nets, it would be great.
Well, yeah,
I,
but I mean,
I, I don't I
I
don't
don't,
I,
see how Jimmy
I, I don't
likes
know if
it.
Jimmy
I don't
and
know if that's too
James. I
realistic.
I see
Yeah,
I see James not listening to Jimmy, and
Give me the
Jimmy's Jimmy.
horse, the gingerbread man.
but
Let's
Jimmy,
go.
Jimmy wanted to be the star, so that's the reason why he went to the Miami Heat. He wanted to be a star of a team that he can run, which is fair. You got to give him props for
He
wanting
ran
to
it
do
pretty
that.
good.
And yeah, I mean they made the finals. I mean, and he's got little Muffin Boy over there too that
Yeah.
drinks.
So Bacon brought in a question in the chat here, and I was kind of curious. Did y'all hear any rumblings that Kyrie he threw a fit about the Harden trade? Have y'all heard anything about? I didn't, so
I
maybe I missed something.
I haven't
I
heard
did
anything.
not hear about that.
The only thing
No.
I
Okay,
heard from Kyrie is that he bought the family of George Floyd the house. That was the last thing I heard from Kyrie.
I mean,
interesting.
it wouldn't shock me because, like I said, the attitude that James Harden is bringing into that locker room, I could see Kyrie getting upset. Like, why are we bringing this dude in?
Hmm.
Well, the interesting thing is that the the conversation about why KD joined up with Kyrie was that they just had kind of like a similar like lifestyle. And the same thing with James Harden too, because they're not known to be like I would say like family, like like married with
Banana
kids and all.
boat. Oh, I
No,
thought okay.
Oh
I thought you were
yeah,
gosh.
talking
yeah,
about.
they're kind of like the banana boat. We'll just give it the banana boats. But I mean, like Kyrie doesn't have like a wife and family. If I'm not mistaken, KD the same way. And when KD was with Golden State, everyone was had a family life, and they didn't have that nightlife that they enjoyed as much.
Yeah.
Same thing with Westbrook. Westbrook, there's a lot of things we can talk about Westbrook. Don't get me wrong, and I know Stone loves him, but Westbrook is a family. Well,
Oh
Westbrook's a
yeah.
family guy through and through. So I mean, I think James Harden kind of fits in with the trio of like the single nightlife kind of guys who enjoy doing other things other than just like basketball in themselves. So
Well, see,
I
the
don't.
problem there is like I never hear anything about KD going. Like if he does go
Yeah,
when it's
yeah.
time for basketball, it's like
It's basketball
he's
time.
all
Yeah.
in
He
to
doesn't have
where
a map across America where if there's a certain establishment, they take an L. You know?
exactly. Exactly. So it's like if those guys can cool do all that, but then focus on what needs to be focused on here.
Hey,
Yeah. Focus on the balling, right? Exactly.
to Bacon on his question, the only thing I've seen is that Sean Marks was asked about if this is, impact. Did you do this trade because of Kyrie Irving? And he said no, and that he talked to Kyrie and that he is excited to get back to play with Harden. So
Okay.
other than that, I do not see anything else about any rift between that and the GM.
So
Fact checked.
assuming that
That's
that
accurate.
that's accurate, right? So for the sake of argument, let's assume that Kyrie is excited to get back with Harden, okay?
hmm
And
Mhm.
that's how it is. Then what I said earlier about Harden being the scapegoat and it really being on Harden on how this team gels, I mean that kind of fits. Because if Harden wants to be an ISO guy and it just wants to play his as Jerome likes to say his rocket style basketball, then it's not going to work because I don't think anyone really knows what's going on with Kyrie, but if Kyrie and it could have just been a media thing, that's why he said it, who knows, but if Kyrie genuinely wants to play with James Harden, then I don't see Kyrie being the guy to stifle James Harden his play. Like he's not going to just, you know, shut him down because Kyrie is the guy or whatever. So if that is true, if Kyrie really wants to play with him, then yeah, I don't think that James Harden can be Rockets James Harden. He has to be willing to utilize his teammates and not just be an ISO guy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what's gonna happen because they could just dribble like crazy and then just pass it around because they've got so many great shooters on that team right now. I mean, that's
Like,
all they have to do. It's just ISO, and if they get one on one, and then drive, kick out.
Just have what DeAndre Jordan or whatever step in front of a guy so KD can get around him, throw it to KD, let him shoot. I mean,
Yeah.
why we shouldn't be drawing up these plays, but let's be honest, if that isn't a play that they have, then they're doing something wrong
And
because
if that's taken, Harden or someone else or Irving's gonna be open.
right, like right, it's so and that's the other thing too is look at what Steph and Clay and KD were able to do in Golden State. Just from an offensive perspective where they were able to pull defenders, like you can't not guard them ever. And I'm not saying that James Harden or I'm not saying that the Brooklyn Nets situation is the same as the Golden State situation because it's not. But both James Harden and Kyrie Irving
Wait,
are
what?
both good.
No,
I will take Stephen Clay Thompson over James Harden and
it's Steven.
Stefan. Like I said, Stefan.
This is a
just
commercial.
let it go. But my point is it's sort of the same trio in that sense that you can't ever back off either one of them. There has to be a guy on them because
Yeah.
they'll kill you otherwise.
Oh yeah.
And that sort of thing worked for Kevin in Golden State because you know he wasn't being double teamed because there's two other guys that can shoot. So like I said, if this team flows and plays like they can, and there isn't a whole lot of um, one-on-one ball and stuff like that, then I do think this team can go all the way, and I do think they can win. I do see the struggles with LA with LeBron and AD, but I still think they can win. I think they have. I mean, as far as shooting, I think they have the better shooters. Um, that situation will come down to who can stop AD and LeBron, but it's like I think if the Brooklyn Nets gel, I think they can go to the finals. I'm not too concerned that they couldn't.
Well, see, I
I
think it's
mean,
more because of they're on the Eastern Conference. I think that
I
if
didn't
they're
want
in
to
the
say that
Western
though.
Conference, oh,
I
I
didn't
will
want to
say
say that. Like
it.
I didn't want to like
If they were on the Western Conference, it would be a different story. I think that they would have a whole lot more struggle. It would be more of a question mark if they could get to the finals or even the conference finals. Um, because by
Is that
far the
just because of Lakers, or do you see another team
see,
that would
I
give
don't
them
think it
issues
would
in the
be a
West?
question of whether or not they could
I
get to
see
the
the
conference
Clippers being
finals
up
in the
there too.
West. I think it would be just a question of whether or not they could get to the finals. Because obviously the Lakers and the Nets, if the Nets were in the West, like those two teams would be your 1 and 2. Because what other team in the West is going to match up with those two?
With
That's what
those
I was
two,
saying. That's what my question was to
I
Nick.
was
Like
saying LA.
besides the Lakers.
Yeah, the Lakers,
Oh,
the
just them.
Clippers.
Okay.
No, you got the Clippers
no,
of Paul
Oh,
George
Clippers. Yeah.
I think the Clippers. I think the Clippers will match up too. But it's not
and
just
then let's not sleep
88.
on the Suns either, guys. The Suns are,
Yeah.
they're still putting it together, but they've got a good thing going on there too.
I'm gonna sleep on the Suns right now. I'm
Okay,
gonna sleep on
so
the
yeah.
Suns right
That
now.
being said, I'm not going to hold my breath with
But
the Clippers either because
but I was gonna say the Lakers 1 through 10. The Lakers 1 through 10 are deep. They're deep.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's like we can. I know we talked about AD. No one's going to be able to guard AD, but they're deep. The Nets second squad can't match up with the Lakers. They can't match up
Yeah.
with the Clippers. They can't even match up with like let's go Denver. Because I mean I know Denver is struggling right now, but Porter Jr. comes back and he has the season that we expect him to have. I expect Denver to do good things too as well. I
Hmm.
just don't see I just don't see them matching depth wise with those guys. Yeah, the front three might be nice, but if you can't if your bench isn't gonna survive, they're not gonna survive.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. The Western Conference does have some great depth on their teams. Like you said, there's big three may not be as sexy as the Nets, but you look at the Western Conference, they've got some good bench players. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You can't sleep on the Suns. You can't the Jazz. I mean, you can't sleep on them. Um, um,
When it comes down to playoff matchups, how many guys are they playing on a team?
They're playing what 8,
Is it about
rotating
eight
8.
guys?
Yeah, I think they're rotating 8.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, okay, if you got your starting five for the Nets, who are those other three guys to help you
Yeah, because the only thing they
score
got
or
is
make stops?
yeah,
yeah,
in the first
it's
series,
Joe
it's going to be,
Harris.
they could do it all in the first series, but when you start getting like grinding into game 6, game 7, multiple series, that's where where your questions coming at is where it's going to be very impacting on them. So if,
And that
they're in
that
the
brings
second series and they're game 6, well, you know, can they carry it all the way still?
Yeah.
that brings up, do we really think that the Nets are mentally tough? Because they all have talent. Like Harden, KD, Kyrie, they're all
yeah,
very
that's true.
talented players.
That is a
The
good turn of the topic right there.
Yeah.
are they mentally tough? Because I'm going to say no.
Hmm.
I
You
mean, I
you
guess
say
we'll.
no? Okay.
No.
Well, and Kyrie had a chance to, without LeBron to do something with Cleveland, he couldn't. And KD needed the Warriors, their system. He had to get in there. So
But
I agree with you, Jerome.
I'll give KD the edge that at least when he was on the Warriors and when it was time to ball, he showed out. So I'll give KD
Agreed.
the one plus.
Right,
But
but
between
that's because
Harden
he
and
wasn't the guy. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
well,
Like,
he
so
had
that
some
pressure
flavor.
wasn't on him as much. It was more like just do your thing.
I was gonna say the real question is I mean because we did talk about KD and his leadership, right? But I think this really KD's move to New Jersey is more of a legacy thing, or not New Jersey. I'm sorry, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
So
Oh man, don't do
Well,
that.
Man, old school.
oh,
Horrible.
let's go Kenyon Martin, Jason Kidd, back in the final days.
A
That's
referee
why.
did that. I don't know if y'all saw that recently.
What was that?
Uh-uh.
They called like a foul or something, and they said New Jersey, not Brooklyn.
Oh no!
wow.
Yeah. But
Nice.
anyways, that's another thing. Go. Sorry,
But I
no.
mean, for KD, this is his legacy. This is how he cements his legacy because he's always gonna have that same thing that's gonna follow his back that he needed Golden State. Basically, he needed the number one team in the West to win the championship. He couldn't do it in OKC. He has to have his own team, and this is his own team. So he has to step up and show his leadership, and he'll have to be the dude that is the guy. and he's gonna have to show Kyrie and Harden that he is the guy. Because let's be honest, like you guys said, Kyrie doesn't have the mental strength to handle a team. I mean, he went to Boston, which literally Boston was almost like the Golden State of the East during that time. So Kyrie could have easily have taken them to the finals because I mean
Well, he was too
Cleveland
busy
wasn't
making a
really doing
movie.
anything. There we go. Uncle Drew, is that what we're talking about? I mean,
All right.
and Harden, and for now, Harden's got a lot to prove, but he just I mean, Stone and Drum, you guys can't blame him for wanting a chip because that's how you guys.
I didn't say ring chaser, but thanks.
Hey, hey, you guys had the love for KD on this on that
No,
movie, you know.
I said it. I'm petty. I just wanted to win a ring so people will shut up about it. He needed Golden State. Nuh-uh. Went to Brooklyn and got a ring.
Well, he hasn't
He
got a ring
has
yet.
to. He
I
has
know.
to. In
That's
order
why.
for him, in order for him to be one of the or the best players that's ever played the game, he has to win a championship with Brooklyn, or else
So
he does.
I got one more question for everyone that I can think of. Is this
All
is
right.
that is if they're not successful this season, how many seasons do you think it's going to take if this core stays together, or will they stay together in the next 2-3 years if they don't make it?
I
Two
mean,
and a
that's
half
kind of their
years.
window. Is the 2 to 3 years like that's their window? I feel like they've lost a lot
Yeah.
of
Do you think
assets. Like,
fans will give up on them too, or do you think Durant's going to stay home? Like he's going to stay there? That's his team from now on, or do you think he could possibly move on in the future if they do not make it?
I think the players will quit on each other before the fans give up because the fans all they have is hope.
Oh my God. They got Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden. All they can do is up now.
I mean,
oh
Can't
we've
get any
seen
man,
we
worse than what
come
it's
on,
been.
we've seen Harden quit in the playoffs. Let's not act like he hasn't done it.
Nice.
Ginobili.
If
Yeah,
this
I was
core,
just about to say that.
yeah, if this core
That wasn't
stays
Harden
together,
quitting. That was
honestly,
just a
though.
good defensive play.
Well, the next game, I mean, let's
Where
talk about the rest of
The
that series
game
because
after, yeah.
we whooped them after that. That was like the game that they needed to win, and then Ginobili snatched that away from him, and
Yep.
that was it.
Tip
Yeah.
took his heart.
Yeah, he went for blood on that one, man.
All right,
I'll
we're
never
gonna
forget
start
that play.
wrapping up here. I wanted to say what Nam was talking about his legacy. I think his legacy was better off either just with Kyrie and the core they had, or get rid of Kyrie and Harden and keep some of those other guys. I think right now, I think he went too much in, and I think he might be realizing that, or he might think they're good. But this is the question I want to ask you guys. We won't say championship, but will the Nets make it to the finals? And let's hear some yays or nays. What do y'all think? Are they gonna beat out the Bucks, Sixers, whoever they have to face to get out of the East? Are they coming out of the East? What do y'all think?
I think they are because as much as we can talk about, as much as I say Boston and Milwaukee, I'm still yet to see them kind of break through that wall or break through
Mm-hmm.
that ceiling, kind of like the old Pistons had to, or the Bulls had to, or the Celtics had to before back in the '90s. It's like they have to have that gear, and I'm not quite sure that they're there yet. I'm kind of curious to see how Philly does, but I think Brooklyn makes it to the finals this year. I don't know if they'll win, but I do think they'll win probably here in the next couple of years just because the inefficiencies that we talked about their bench. I think people will actually go to Brooklyn and sign with Brooklyn, who will ring chase, and then they'll be fine there eventually.
Oh, that's a good point. All right,
Yeah,
who else?
I think I tend to agree with Num. I think that assuming this core stays together, I think that people will want to come play, especially with KD, Kyrie at the very least. But as far as them, I like I've said, I think they make it to the finals. Um, but that's the optimist. But the realist is kind of like, the season's still really early. I think, and honestly, I think Brooklyn actually just beat Milwaukee tonight, and they only beat them by like 2 points. Um,
Oh, okay, I didn't see
and
that.
yeah, I had the game pulled up on my phone a little bit. Harden 13 and 25 or 13 of 25. Sorry. It was more or less a decent stat line, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But the realist in me is just kind of like, look, if this team gels, they'll get there. If this team works together, there's not a whole lot of drama and crying and all, just whatever, they'll get there. I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
doubt that they can't get there. It's just with with Harden and Kyrie that you don't know. So I'm with Nam. I think they get there, but
Okay.
we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I think they it all depends on if they gel. I mean, if they do get it all together, they will do right. But yeah, I was looking at his stats again, James Harden tonight, and look at that at 3 point, 3 for 10 again. So
Hmm.
he's kind of getting a little inefficient there at the three. I mean, it's 30%, but the other night he was 3 for 10 as well.
Right, but look
Now
at the
to
one stat. Look at that one stat though. His
what ones?
assists.
Yeah, he had. I was just about to say
12
that.
assists.
Yes,
Whoa.
I was just about to say he had 12 assists and he had a block, 6 rebounds, and then he was only 5 for 6 for free throws, so he didn't go to the free throw line.
Right.
He was 13 for 25 at the field goal, so he did have 6 turnovers though, so that's kind of that's a lot right there. But if they do put it together, yes, they're going to be a great team. The only downside is their depth, but man, I think all three players can play 35 plus minutes during the series, and maybe rely on one person, and because Harden, he did it in the Rockets, and he was the one guy, but he couldn't do it every game. And at least now he's got two other guys that can at least take a night, and Durant can take, I mean, he could take a lot. I think he's going to be he's the strongest player on the team by far. And if they do get it all together, yes, they're going to go far. They're going to go into the finals, or, it'd be a very much of a nail biter if they get into the Eastern Conference Finals with, depending on their matchup there. But that's my take on them.
All right, Jerome.
Yeah, I don't think they have an option. I think that they have to make it to the finals. If they don't make it to the finals, it's the beginning of the end because things are going to start getting toxic, fingers are going to start pointing, and they're going to go into next season with even more pressure than they have now because now they would have played, half a
You don't
season together and the expectation is going to be even greater. So
you
they
don't think
have
they
to
could
make it.
You don't think they could clean that up though, like what Nam and Stone were saying about in the free agency? I mean, because they're going to be an
I
attractive
was,
team to go to.
I was gonna say that shouldn't be a problem because I mean, even Miami, where Miami when they formed the Big Three, ended up that way too because they lost to Dallas in the finals that year. So I mean,
I just think you have to have immediate results. When you bring a guy like Harden to a team with KD and Kyrie, I think championship getting there is like the minimum. Whether you win or lose, that can be debated and it doesn't matter. But you have to get to the championship.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. Like what all the other guys says, like Anam brought it up first. Like I forget this is still the beginning of the season. They're
Right.
still they still have the trade deadline. So I think as talks start happening and as we get closer to that deadline and we see what their final group going into the playoffs is going to be, like that's going to be really interesting to see who they get because I still think I think they need a better big man. Um, like especially for some of those matchups that they're going to have to go against in the East. Um, like all you guys said, if they're gelling, Kyrie, James Harden, KD are three of the best shot creators that like in the NBA right now, and they can score the ball. And I think they can score in bunches. It's gonna be hard to stop them. It's gonna come down at some games, some matches. It's gonna come down to defense, and that's where I feel KD is a great defender. There was some for those playoff runs with the Warriors, like he had to play some D, and he's got the long arms to do it. I think I'm gonna have to see where James and Kyrie are at. Do they want it? Are they gonna play defense? And because Kyrie's gonna, if KD's gonna be doing all of that, he's gonna get tired. But I see them coming out of the East as well. Like Nam said, the Bucks haven't proven themselves. They are a really good team. I love Giannis. They have not proven themselves to get over that hump. And the same with the 76ers. I always feel like there's always something going on with the 76ers between Simmons and Bede. Uh, Hopefully they clean that up, but they still have a lot to prove to me. So
We're still learning what the process is.
exactly, people have been trusting this process for
Oh,
how many years
gosh.
now?
Saying.
Oh
Hey,
man.
you know, with Doc Rivers though, they are looking a lot better though. That you got to give them that.
Okay, Doc, in the season, when it comes down to coming up with plays and changing it up in the playoffs, Doc's
Ooh, we may
he's
have to
got
save. We may have to save that.
he's got some
Ooh,
issues.
yeah.
I feel like as far as coaching wise when it comes to playoffs.
Playoff D.
I like his comeback for Tyronn Lue though. I'm not gonna lie. And let's not sleep on Boston either, because I'm gonna tell you what, losing Hayward and they just gotten better in my opinion.
Oh, you think without Hayward?
Yeah, because I mean Jaylen Brown has just showed up. Like he's just kind of continued where he left off in the
Yeah,
Super
Jalen
League.
Brown, Tatum. I thought Tatum was gonna be better, but Jalen Brown's kind of taking the reins. I feel like lately.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And then we'll see when Kemba Walker is he back yet? He's back, right?
Yeah, he is back.
Oh
He
yeah,
did
he's back.
He
Dick.
got us scared
Start
that he
him.
was hurt, and because someone hit his side, but they didn't bring him back into the game, and because he's on minute restriction still. So
Okay, gotcha. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for joining this evening. That was a lot of fun. That's just the first of many NBA talks that we're gonna have. Don't know what we're gonna talk about next week. We'll talk about it. If y'all got any ideas,
Honestly,
let us know.
let's just go through our that group text. I'm sure
Oh
there's
man. Well, we'll see. We'll see if any
gold
big
in
news
there.
happens this week.
The legacy of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean,
I want to talk about playoff Pete.
conversation.
What's to talk
We're-
about?
We'll talk about our fantasy teams as well. So we're all in a fantasy league together, and I finally got a win. So y'all better watch out.
you killed
Coming for-
everyone this week.
You
I
should
know,
have
man. My
COVID.
score was
Did
like,
COVID
man,
even
I would have,
touch your players.
beat all of you. It touched 76ers, I think, a bit, but that's it. We have like
Yeah.
2 or 3 players from them. But
I
but
had
anyways,
Devin Booker, man, 3 games.
his stats aren't as high as they should be. I feel like
Yeah, he's definitely had a slow start this year.
he's on. Hopefully he picks it up. But again, thanks
Okay.
guys for joining. We're gonna go ahead and cut it there. If you're listening on or watching on Twitch, YouTube, or wherever else you put this out, thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.